Good afternoon. In our program we will tell you about science and education, scientists and students, and about everything that is connected with the name of Kazan Federal University. Kazan Federal University is the whole world, and today I will open its doors for you. My name is Aliya Smagilova, and this is news of Kazan Federal University. Today, one of the most important tasks of science is the question of merging with business. It's not under each scientist's force to turn talented opening into the finished product, but it is exactly the thing that all universities try to do. About how scientists become businessmen is our next video. A workday of Alexei Nizamudinov invariably begins with complaints of safety measures. Profession of a scientist seems to be harmless only at first glance. Together with his partner, Alexei upgrades its laser devices with unique crystals.
We are developing a LiDAR. It is a device which will scan the atmosphere and will say to us what compounds are flying in the atmosphere, for example, near some plant. Administration of Republic of Tatarstan is thinking about atmosphere control because we have some plants working in the oil area. And also Kazan city is a huge city. These photons don't go to our eyes, yeah? And if you see the laser beam, so this means that air is very dusty.
Scientists can boast not only development but also their income. Several years ago, after graduating from Kazan Federal University, they created an innovative SME based on alma mater. Currently, such enterprises like Kazan Federal University are about 30, and they are connected with a variety of scientific areas, not only the technical and natural but also humanitarian sciences. All enterprises are still quite young, but their total turnover last year amounted to about 28 million rubles. Talented scientific ideas will certainly be turned into a business. It is the right vector of development to those students who will be the future of science. In the Higher Institute of Information Technology and Information System of Kazan Federal University, it has even created a special startup club. Here we attract active students who want to develop their own business and project. So they turn the project into a business and attract money investment to get noticed. We want our students to develop their business in Kazan Federal University, because there is no better platform to grow business. We have all the features. Such work with students already has some fruit. Being students, Ira, Katya and Ilsiar became a part of the team of the Small Business Innovation First Labs. Together with the companies, they are developing mobile application guided by Kazan Federal University.
Together with laboratories of ITs, we've developed 3 mobile applications on Android, Windows Phone and iOS. With our application, people can find out which faculty located in this building. So, people have to scan QR code on building, and after that they will see which faculty is located in this building. Our application people can download in free stores. It's for Windows Phone, for iOS and for Android.
The task of the university is to transform his scientific achievements in specific products. To do this, the faculties are engineering areas as well as open areas in the interdisciplinary master's degree. For example, biotechnical system and technologies. Interest in partnership among scientists of Kazan Federal University is growing. In the nearest future, it is planned to open another 5 companies. Centuries-old experience and knowledge of Kazan Federal University is wealth, which, like rare jewels, carefully preserved in the museum of the university. Today we introduce you to one of these treasures, to Museum of Zoology. Zoological Museum of Kazan Federal University is one of the oldest treasures of rare animals in Russia. This collection was collecting for centuries. The museum itself is of the same age with Kazan Federal University, and it was established even early in 1798. Today, exposition includes 600 different species of vertebrates and invertebrates. Some exhibits passed the university as a gift. Something was brought by scientists and students from various expeditions.
Here you can see hundreds of species of mammals. And all of that has a great history. For example, the oldest example of our museum, he was founded in 17th century even. And now I will tell you about the unique example of our museum. This animal was killed at 1878 of year, and now you couldn't see this animal all the world. And only 8 examples were saved in the museum.
The museum exposition is divided into 2 parts, vertebrates and invertebrates, despite the fact that the last one is much smaller because of the small size of their representatives. It is no less rich in interesting exhibits.
Also, museum has a very rich collection of shells of different mollusks, of gastropods and bivalves. A lot of these shells are widely used in people's life. For example, the cowrie shells are used as the currents in some countries even today, like Indonesia, for example. And of course, a lot of these shells are very attractive for collectioners, but some are very dangerous, like these conus shells. Impressive, but very dangerous because they are really venomous. This Kamchatka crab, in fact, it's not a crab, but its shape is very similar to crabs. It was successfully introduced in Barents Sea and White Sea, but previously it inhabited just the seas of far east of Russia. Here we can see the tropical fauna of butterflies, including the largest butterflies in the world, like Astacus atlas from Indonesia and Agrippina from South America. Of course, we have here not only the tropical animals, but just our fauna. You can easily meet some of them when you're going for a walk, but some, of course, are very rare, so some are located in the Red Book. Here we have a special gift for the museum. This is a collection of butterflies collected by Alexander Mikhailovich Butlerov, the famous chemist. Previously, he was the entomologist, and his master dissertation was connected with the butterflies of our region. And after changing his scientific work, he made such gift to our museum, to our university.
Collection of Zoological Museum is updating. Exhibits are treated with special substances to be preserved in a good condition as long as possible. It is done by special employees, taxidermists. Every day groups of students come to the museum to plunge into wildlife. Exhibits serve them as a visual aim and researcher's material.
In Kazan Federal University, every day is full of different events. Our kaleidoscope tells you about the most interesting of them. My name is Olga Danilova. Let's start. Every country has its terrible moments of pain and suffering which cannot be forgotten. So, in memory of catastrophe of 17th November 2013, our students decided to create a monument. They were supported by rector and his cabinet and TV radio company New Century. It was organized a competition to find the best model of monument and fundraising to make it. How can we evaluate the effectiveness of state and municipal stairs, and how can we manage its qualities? These and many other questions were discussed in Kazan Federal University. Experts in the field of management, effectiveness and quality came to Kazan from all over the world. The forum was great international, and it has both theoretical and practical values.
One of the principles of quality development is that you have to follow the good example. The public sector in your country, like in Europe, is not part of the problems of the society, but is part of the solutions of the societal issues. And this is the proudness with whom we should work. We work in the public sector, and we want to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the public sector.
Alexander Butlerov Institute of Chemistry celebrated its 18th anniversary. Chemistry as a science was studied in Kazan Federal University 200 years ago. An independent department that prepared chemists formed later. Now the institute named of Alexander Butlerov, the star of science world. He studied at our university and he created the theory of chemical structures of organic substances, and he founded the Kazan Chemical School, known today all over the world. Walking down the Frederick Street, passing through Brandenburg Gate and even visiting the sleeping area of German capital. All this is possible for students of Kazan Federal University. Mobile exhibition Berlin City of Change was opened here. The author is famous Russian journalist Irina Galenkova. This exhibition is part of the Year of Germany in Russia and aims to establish a cultural dialogue between our nations. Despite the complex history, relations between Russia and Germany developed. Such exhibitions help us to become friends, to become more polite and tolerant. We all have something to show each other and to discuss. This is all for today. Thank you and goodbye.
Twice winner of the prestigious Emmy is in Kazan. Famous Canadian director Paul Zaltzman presented the film The Last White Night in Kazan Federal University. Why is the history of Ku Klux Klan and human rights organization confrontation in the US interesting to students of the Republic of Tatarstan? The answers are in the next video. About the arrival of the famous Canadian in Kazan Federal University was known long before his arrival. Spectators of students' internet channel universmatri.ru could ask questions Semi Zaltzman live. And being thousands of miles away from Kazan, he managed to hold a tour of his home. A month later, Paul Zaltzman brought his documentary film The Last White Night in the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan. Pictured by Canadian director is one of theme of nationalism and racism. And as the director told students, it's no coincidence. He leads an organization that advocates for human equality and fighting with racial prejudice. In his work, he tried again to remind the audience about tolerance and its place in the modern world. Author's approach to solving this problem has caused many questions. So the audience asked what the director believes the main weapon in the fight against nationalism and ethnic conflicts.
I think the fundamental thing is we'll never have peace on earth if we look down on people. I think the only way we'll do that, and again, it's not just peace on earth, it's you with your friend or me with my friend.
Canadian director was pleasantly surprised by the students in their knowledge of his biography. Thus, many in the audience wanted to know what changed in the life of Zaltzman after acquaintance with the legendary The Beatles. With the Fab Four, he met in India at one of the sacred ashrams.
I learned, one important thing I learned was from George Harrison. I was 24 years old and he was 24, and we were just sitting alone talking about life. And he said something that changed my life. He said these words to me. He said, like, we're the Beatles after all, aren't we? We have all the money you could ever dream of. We have all the fame you could ever wish for. But it isn't love. It isn't health. It isn't peace inside, is it? So that was life-changing for me.
After Kazan Federal University, Paul Zaltzman visited Russian Islamic Institute. Canadian filmmaker was interested in the education system of Muslims, its principles and features. Particular attention was paid to the issues of peace talk between the representatives of different faiths, especially Tatarstan's experience in this regard is worthy of respect. And the conversation continued after watching the movie The Last White Night. Audience was interested in the case of religious tolerance overseas. Just Zaltzman was offered to shoot a film about the history of Tatar people. Director promised to think on the idea and of course to come to Kazan again, but it didn't end there. TV made met again with the university community in the studio of Kazan University Students Television. This was news of Kazan Federal University. Bye-bye.